Hey guys, it's Jexpler, and in this video I'm going to be giving you a little more info on how to render with Eevee. Next video is going to be how to render with cycles, which will give you, it'll be slower, but it'll give you better results. Before I do that, I thought it'd be good to give a quick overview on kind of how Eevee works a little better. A lot of this is kind of stuff is going to be kind of what I went over a little bit in my normal simple GFX tutorial. However, I'm going to be going a little more into detail so you really understand what's happening when you do this. And also, so you don't have to watch, this is separated, so you don't have to watch the entire video. Okay, so I've already set up a scene. I'm going to go into render preview. I'm using an HDRI to get realistic lighting, and I have 3 balls. One that's metallic and has no roughness, so it's basically just a mirror. This one, which is kind of a little bit of roughness, it's blue, it's a little reflective. This one has an emissive material, so it's neon. In this plane I just gave like a little bump from a noise texture node. Okay, so I have not touched any of these render settings. If you want to follow along, I don't know why you would, but if you do, here in the render properties. But also, yeah, I'm in render properties, which is this camera. This is how I get all these settings. There are a bunch of them. We're not going to touch all of them. Some of them we don't really need, like this. We don't need to worry about this or volumetrics or hair. It's just not a problem for us. The first setting we're going to be looking at is ambient occlusion. Ambient occlusion is great. Basically all it means is, when it means ambient, it's talking about ambient light, and occlusion has to do with like shadow. So if we just quickly turn it on just to show you, you can see we have a little to change. If I go into this and change the distance to 3, you'll really see it a lot more. You can see it's kind of adding some like fake shadow by darkening areas that would be would have shadow. Let's increase that to 3 to show you even more. You can really see that effect now. I've just really kind of jacked it up so you can really see what's going on. That's really all that does. Whenever I render with Eevee, I always use on ambient occlusion. I love it. It's great. Bloom is a simple one. Whenever something is like bright, it's going to have a little bit of a glow around it. So you see this neon ball is very boring, and when I turn on bloom, it's going to affect the others a little bit too. So you see, first this now has a bit of a green glow around it. If you look closely, this metal ball is also changing a little bit. Where the sun is reflected, it's giving it a little bit of a glow too, which is really great. That's really all that does. It just kind of adds a little bit of a glow, like a little bit of a glare kind of thing. Another great one that you should always turn on for Eevee is screen space reflections. It makes things that are reflective and like glossy a lot more realistic. So you can see right now what it's doing is it's reflecting the surface under it, but not the way you would if it's not 100% realistic. I'm going to turn on refraction and turn off half-res trace. So you can see doing that clears it up a lot. Basically, this is simulating reflectiveness of objects around it, because normally Eevee, the way Eevee works, and the reason it's so fast is it's basically guessing for a lot of the lighting and stuff. However, cycles, which it takes longer, but it's better because it's something called ray tracing, which means it's actually calculating like how light bounces off of things, which takes longer, but it gives you more realistic results. But screen space reflections will kind of simulate a little bit of that, so you can get more realistic reflections. Next one we're going to look into is shadows. In order to really see shadows, I'm going to have to put in a light, because right now, since we have this HDRI, there's really light coming from everywhere, so we need a more localized light to really show off this setting. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly turn the strength of this HDRI down to 0. As you can see, this neon ball is that also is affected by screen space reflection. It will also kind of glow the area around it. Now I'm going to add in a point light. I will turn up the strength a lot. Okay, there we go. Let's do that. First thing to do is under shadow, I'm going to enable contact shadows. This won't make much of a difference here. I just recommend it because it will allow for more like detailed shadows. It'll basically tell the program, hey, even if an object is small, you should not ignore it. Calculate shadows for it too, which give you more realistic shadows. Now in shadows, you have cube size and cascade size. And I'm going to quickly show you what each of these do. If I turn these both down to 64, we have, these shadows don't look the worst actually, but you can see this cube here. If I turn off soft shadows, you can really see it. If I turn up cube size, it turns up the size that, those like pixels are. If I turn up cascade size, it's not as noticeable, and I'm not really an expert on Blender, so I'm not really sure what exactly it's doing, but I believe cascade size has to do with more softer shadows. Yeah, I think it has to do with soft shadows. Maybe not, who knows. Turn these both up. And then also set a high bit depth to make that more realistic. You don't have to have soft shadows on, but I highly recommend it. The next thing I'm going to, let's turn on this. Actually, hold on. I'm going to turn back on my HDRI. Next thing we're going to look at is film. Under film, this is a simple one. Checking on transparent. It makes the background transparent, but everything is still it's still affecting the scene. And these weird looking cube things in the background, that's the way. And basically all things computer, how it communicates, hey, I'm just letting you know this is transparent. You can't see it transparent because this is a computer screen, and I can't make the computer screen invisible, but this is just its way of letting us know that the background is transparent. The last section that we're going to look at is color management. I don't always mess with this, but you can just quickly change the look. So like medium high contrast, you can see if we look at very high contrast versus very low contrast, it just messes a little bit with the colors. Usually if I change it, I change it to medium high contrast, but I don't always do that, it just depends. The last thing I want to tell you about, but we're not going to do anything with, is sampling. Viewport means what we're looking at here, and render means when we actually hit F12 or hit render image here. That's what it's referring to, because obviously we're going to have more samples, and I know you guys don't know what samples are yet, but it makes sense that there are more in the render than in the viewport. Basically, this has to do with like quality and reducing noise. So like more samples equals less noise. That's not a very technical explanation, but that's as important as you need to know. In Eevee, I have never ever needed to change the sample amount. I've never needed to increase it. It's never been a problem. If I increase this to 32, you can't really tell because since Eevee guesses, it's not as much as a difference. But if I turn the sampling down to 1, you can see how poor that looks, all that extra noise. If I turn it back to 16, it smooths out a lot. But if I were to turn it to 128, you can kind of see a difference, but it's really not. It's a lot more subtle in Eevee. That's it for this video. I just wanted to explain to you guys some of these. Volumetrics is something you would only need if you had volumetric, which is like fog. Performance, you could turn on high quality normals if you want. I found that that doesn't usually make much of a difference. But I usually turn it on anyway. That's it for this video. In the next video, I'll be teaching you guys how to render in cycles, which will allow you to really make your renders a lot more realistic, and I'm looking forward to that. But thank you for watching, and I will see you guys next time.